Hello, welcome back to part 2 of the mid-June walkabout. And we're going to start now with the asparagus patch right here. Right here, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but asparagus is there. You see? I'm just letting this grow up here now. I kind of need to just let it grow up because I can see where it is. I did take one spear off of that a few weeks ago, and just a couple of days ago I took a spear from right here. Of course, that's another one there, and this spear has probably gone too far for me to harvest it now. Is there anything down there? Let's see if we can find a spear to harvest. This one is probably good. Yeah. Breaks off nicely. Now, I mean, it's a smaller. They suggest you get them bigger than that. I'm trying to get the phone in here now to show you. You see, that's where the other spear was, right there. Oh, and here's a nice thick one. Ah, that one broke nicely. They are so delicious. Break them off like that and just eat them right away. Yeah, so that fatter one, that was much shorter. It was perfect. But that skinny one that I pulled up, it had gone too far and I was starting to get fibrous. Don't want to move them now. I got them growing good. I'm going to get the weeds out of there and have a wall of asparagus growing across there. I pulled this one off earlier today because I was walking around. Actually, I'll go back here. This is a dock leaf. I don't know. I think dock are edible, leaves are edible, aren't they? They have good uses, but I mean, check out the nice, beautiful dandelion leaves I can get here. So if you tend to dandelions, you can get some nice greens. And if you don't want the bitterness of it, you just cut out this middle rib and these side ribs. Side ribs has a little bit of bitterness to it, but pretty much if you cut out this middle rib and put some sweet salad dressing on it, you wouldn't notice the bitterness at all. And this is what I'm doing with the lawnmower as I pull them up. See, I'm putting on a nice thick layer, and then we can kind of claim this area as a planting area, slowly going across, and we'll get it under control. Now, see, with the little bit that I was able to do with the lawnmower, I got this all cut down again. So it's cut nice and short, and I'll be able to get some squash. I don't have many squash, but I'll see what I need to plant where. This is one of the areas. And once again, this is one of the areas that's got an awful lot of strawberries. You see? They're growing all throughout here. So I thought this tree wasn't going to produce a blossom this year. And then a week later I come by and I'm like, ah, blossoms. Now, it's not going to produce like it did in previous years. There is some there. And if we go back and try to zoom this out now. This is something I haven't learned yet, see? But, yeah. So up here, there's a lot of blossoms up there, higher up in the tree. So I might get a significant harvest, and over past there, that's apple blossoms right there. It's not cherry blossoms. I don't know if I mentioned the rhubarb growing over here this year yet or no, but it is doing very nicely right in under the tree. So I harvested 3.1 kilograms of rhubarb just a week ago, including what I took from here and the other patches. In the next few days, I'm going to be weeding this out. I'm just going to point out for there, and I'll point it out again later in the weeding video. But coriander. What's the other name? Got the other name forgot now. Anyway, two names for the one plant. Coriander is the one I remember now. It's growing throughout there. I planted coriander there a few years back, and I didn't know what it would look like, right, when it come up. But apparently it was growing and self-seeding. So that's why I planted those few inside the house, to see what it would look like when it grew. And we have catnip. Oh, that might be the other reason why it's called cat. I never did this before. You rub this way, is almost like rubbing the fur of a cat. Lavenders are doing nicely. Winter Savory is doing beautifully here. And I tried to grow some kind of thyme, I believe it was in there, and it didn't survive. Oh yeah, I just noticed this too. The Elecampane that I planted there is surviving. There's a couple in there. And that's the biggest lovage I have. I can't really spend a lot of time on each thing this time, because this video is going to be long as it is. Sage doing beautifully this year, coming back real nice. And then there's the other green lemon thyme down there, which we're not going to get any weather to kill green lemon thyme. Check that out, eh? It's growing just beautifully, the rhubarb in there. And I have 5 bunches of it there now. And a cause for excitement. Look at how well the blueberry, high bush blueberry, has leaved out. And it's looking beautiful now. And that one over there, it'll come around eventually. The lettuce that I planted there seems to be growing. Okay, so this is Tiger's Eye bean. You see here, that wasn't there yesterday. So this is your first one. So what's this, 6 days? No, it's 5 days. 5 days from planting, they showed up, the first one. I'm not going to be searching among this bed because the weeds has come up too fast, and I just got to get to it and weed it out so that I can see my other plants there. The cat did put 3 holes in it, but she's not doing bad. Like I say, it's only those 3. She hasn't been a problem yet. And this bed is doing nicely. And as I always say, this is another one of those wild edibles that is so nice in a salad. So this is red-rooted amaranth. The common name is pigweed, but it is red-rooted amaranth. These are a pain in the derriere because they reproduce so fast and they go everywhere. But it's wild buckwheat, and I have to check to see what the edibility is. Along with that, I don't know how many of these potatoes I'm going to have to pull up so that they don't interfere with the brassicas. But of course, when you plant potatoes, same idea. They're coming up there for years afterwards. That's the shady plot. We had some wind, so really that's why the rhubarb patch looks like that. It blew the ones that it could around. Now, I do have some carrots coming up. You see, here's one here. But there's not enough coming up for my liking. So, I'm going to get those seeds that we grew, not last year, but the year before, and reseed both beds. But now it's later and the weather's drier, which is what I was trying to avoid. I mean, I'm going to have to water them every day until they germinate. There's still time to get good carrot, but like I said, I'm going to have to water them every day until they germinate. Within 4 days, so yesterday I was out here, and pretty much every black turtle bean is growing. 4 days from planting. See, the strawberries aren't growing as nicely here as they are down in that other bed, which is what kind of surprises me. But everything is exploding in growth right now, so I got to get through a cycle of weeding before I can actually show you some beds, how well things are growing. So once again over here, Jacob's cattle, that wasn't there yesterday, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, they're popping up all over. So now in the next couple of days, they'll all be up. I have some peas coming up there, but apparently not all the ones that I set are growing. So I guess I'll have to re-sow. Garlic doing beautifully as usual. Won't be any escapes on them for probably another month. Walking up here, as I say, decide which is which, but both of them are all around pretty much an even number of each. So we have a rowan berry and the elderberry. When you live in a place like this, you got to keep your eyes open to details, because you really don't know what's going to pop up. And like I say, if you're growing your own seed, you could have food popping up anywhere. Now let's see. Yeah. So the low bush blueberries, they're in full bloom now. This all through here, and all this up here. This is low bush blueberries here. And I got quite a few in previous years, quite a lot of berries just off this patch here. Check that apple tree now, eh? So this is why when you want to grow apples, you grow several different varieties. I mean, not a blossom last year. And just look at it now. They vary. Big, huge blossoms, eh? It makes big blossoms, it makes big apples. And the thing is loaded this year, going to pay up for last year. At any rate, they vary both in the number of blossoms and the amount of pollen. And so the years where your apple tree might not have any blossoms at all, if you have several different varieties, it's unlikely that they would all not produce blossoms in the same year. The other thing is that some years you might get them produce blossoms, but they have a low pollen production. So the apple tree with low pollen production can be pollinated from the apple tree with higher pollen production. Otherwise, you could have just one apple tree and it produced perfectly fine, but it's not going to produce perfectly fine every year because that's just the way apples are. And the Hyder red tree as well, going to pay up for not having a blossom last year. And actually, I mean, the blossoms are big on this one too. So you took that year of rest and now it's just producing like crazy. I don't know, there might be too much weight. Oh, and they're getting blossom. That I think was a bumblebee. We have our regular little fly there. Oh, there's a hoverfly, looking like a miniature wasp, but it's actually an hoverfly. So, pollinators all over this tree. So once again, I mean, they flower at different times too, eh? See, the flowers aren't even open on these. And yet, a few weeks ago, there was just a mass of flowers down there on those others. But that's the other kind. And now they're all gone. Whereas on this bunch here, they're just starting to open up. So one is rowanberry, the other is elderberry. And when the bigger leaf one gets growing up, check this out, eh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's that 16 to 17 leaflets per leaf on this tree. That's an old tree. We'll keep checking on this wild currant and see what becomes of it. You see, I'm cutting down all these old trees because they're breaking and blowing completely down, and that a lot of them are a danger. But check out how their small ones are just starting to take off like crazy now that they're getting some sunshine, eh? And they will grow fast. That's a fir tree. And then there's a bunch of spruce right there. So kind of mixed all through, fir and spruce. And you just got to keep poking along at it. I mean, don't let... No, I can't take care of 4 acres But I'll poke along and see what can be done. I'm just the one human that is trying to be the brains of a 4-acre ecosystem. And I'll do what I can. Now, do you remember last fall I brought a bunch of seeds up here and I threw them all around just to see what would happen? Don't know what it is yet, but there's 3 of them there. That's the only thing I've noticed so far. I would assume that those 3 grew. There's probably others starting to grow around there as well. Something that we won't know until a future date. So I came up here yesterday. Grouse flew out from right there, almost hit me. And then landed up there acting like it was injured. So I assume there's a mama grouse in there that has a nest. There's a little black-capped chickadee there, but with the phone I don't know how to do the zooming yet, so I need to come out with my SLR and just walk around sometimes and just take pictures of wildlife for you. Then I can stick it into the other videos. But you see this? I told you that was going to happen. We had some wind the other day. It was caught up in that birch tree, and I said I'm going to have to take down the birch to get the spruce down. But if anybody had been standing there at the time, that would have been dangerous. But as it was, it came down during the night, I guess. So there it is, down on the ground. And a lot of those, I mean, this one looked healthier than those over on the other side. Looked fairly healthy, but it snapped right off. You see this black locust, that one's doing well. Doesn't have any leaves down there, but I'm not worried about that. This will come along, as long as the moose don't come along and chew it on it, of course. It is kind of out of the moose's regular walkway. Now, looks like there was a rabbit on chewing on that. And that one over there probably won't make it. So when you're planting out your trees, plant them out in many different areas. Try to get them out of the way of the animals, because they're creatures of habit, see? And they just do a walk away, and they're not over here looking for this tree. So what it does, it just comes by and it walks up through there. So this one, if we're lucky, it'll just sit there and it'll grow. Now that being said, it's a good idea that I not cut down this, because the moose is looking and he's saying, well, I'd path better up the other way, right? But if I cut down these, then the moose might just walk straight on, in which case he's walking right by the other black locust and he'd chew on it. And that's what I found out about the other apple tree that was there on the cliff. It doesn't take much of a barrier to guide the moose away, but if you don't guide it away, it can do a lot of damage to hardwood trees. This is the state of the upper garden on June the 15th. Strawberry plants, I think most of the strawberry plants here are alpine strawberries. Let's see, we got a red mulberry here that's doing well. It had gotten chewed off, but the leaves are coming out on it there. See, there's another red mulberry there. Yeah, they're all leaving out. They have been damaged, some of them, by the wildlife, but you see, you got to keep planting stuff out until something takes. That's what nature does, eh? And if you're going by seed, once you get the hang of how to get stuff started by seed and that, I mean, I don't fully have the hang of it yet, but I mean, I'll get there. And just keep planting. Seeds are cheap. And eventually we'll get a good forest the way I want it here. Now, what of these strawberries are alpine strawberries and what are some other domesticated type of strawberries, I don't know, because there was domesticated strawberries planted here. So what's what, I couldn't tell you. So one of the latest ones leave out, but they did very well last year, and they did leave out the last thing last year as well. Osage orange. So I'm hoping it comes along quite well. We'll walk over here to where the black locusts are. Not the black locust, the black mulberry. See, once again, this is the one that's doing the best, eh? It's going to grow like crazy. This one, once it gets itself established, is going to do pretty well too. There are black locusts growing here that is surviving. Now I have to inspect them and maybe put a marker by each one once everything is leaved out. But I'll also get some more seed for next year and have a bunch started. See, it doesn't have many leaves on it, but what is growing is really nice, eh? So this is the best place that the red mulberry grew, just along this stretch right here. And you can see, once again, I like to tell you about the forest because, yeah, we'd like to keep the trees there, keep them growing, but at some point they get to the point, especially conifers, that they're a carbon store, but they're just sitting there and they become a danger in the wind. Well, this is the way the boreal forest grew anyway. It gets refreshed by windstorms and wildfires. Wildfires are common in the boreal forest. It's just that what we've had the last few years, because of dry seasons out in the rest of Canada, and in the rest of the world, everything dries out and then wildfires go crazy. But to have small wildfires or windstorms that just completely takes out a bunch of trees is not uncommon. So what I'm doing, of course, I can see those and I'm like, they're not growing. They're practically dead and don't know it. So I'll cut them for firewood. And then I'll get something growing like this that's growing as fast as it can. I mean, check this one over here, eh? Look at how much it's put on already. Like, that tree is growing fast. So I turn this place back into a carbon sink again while getting the energy that I need to keep my house warm in the winter. All of these ground cover shrubs here, that's all partridge berries, and I need to pick them this year before the birds get them. You see the strawberries here? I was up here last year and I picked a bunch, and they were bigger than I would expect alpine strawberries to be. Smaller than your domesticated ones, but it's just because they're growing out among all the other vegetation here, and they've got a lot of competition, but still bigger than what you would expect a wild strawberry to be. Another red mulberry doing well. There's another one here. I would like to be able to put something around them and protect them from the rabbits and the moose until they get about like 6 feet tall, and then they should be able to go on. Partridge berry flowers. Especially this unknown one here, because it looks like going to be a beautiful fruit tree, but it also looks like there's animals that love it. Now there's one last thing to walk through here. I guess there's one last thing. We might go out on the bog. The flies are quite plentiful today. Starting to get bothersome. So now I don't know what I can do with this, see? It is right now a black spruce forest. And that tiny thing there, that could be 50 years old. It doesn't grow much. And if I cut those down and I were to poke in maples and regular spruce and whatever in among it, would it grow faster? That is the question. But I just noticed something I wanted to point out. You see this here is coming out with white flowers, and you take this leaf, it is slightly curled back, and if you turn it over, it's got this brown fuzzy stuff on the underside. That's a Labrador tea. It is non-toxic, perfectly edible if you wanted to eat it, but as the name suggests, people make tea out of it. So I picked that right there. Right beside it is this leaf. It's not curled back, and it doesn't have that brown fuzz on the underside. It will come out with pink flowers. This is sheep laurel, otherwise known as lambkill. It is poison. It's a poisonous rhododendron. The pink one is, and the one with the white flowers and the recurved leaves is Labrador tea, which is another species altogether. See, here's some sheep laurel with the flowers open on it. And if we go over here, and right there we have some Labrador tea flowers. Don't think I'm close enough for it to get it good on the camera. Yeah, right there, see? Now, due to the slow growth, remember how I put down those anchors to put the pea trellis up against? Black spruce it is much harder than white spruce. It is technically not that rot resistant, but because of, like I said, because of the slow growth, it makes it a harder wood and makes it more rot resistant just due to the conditions that it grew in. So I could use some of them for anchors because they're not very big already, right? And they're nice and straight. There's also some sap there that one could harvest. Speaking of which, pine resin is used as a shellac. And this is what I'm wondering, if you were to buy pine resin, you'll get it into chips. And it's just like if I would chip up that. So I have to check into that, whether or not that could be combined with like acetone or something and make a shellac out of it. Come on, stand up. Still a lot of water here. I wonder if we can walk out through here. Don't remember if I've ever taken you out here. Don't know how safe it's going to be. That's the bog though. And you go about 150 feet that way, or actually no, it's more like 250 feet. For this time of year, if we get a dry year like we did back in 2021 or 2022, I could go out across this. But last year we've had normal weather, and we've had kind of normal precipitation this year, so we probably won't be able to do much on the bog this year. See these cotton grasses? I've wondered if one could actually make use of that as cotton. I guess the last thing I want to mention about this now, of course, is here with the fine needles and that. This is Tamarack larch, otherwise known locally as juniper. I do have quite a few small ones growing. Now, up further back away from the roadway, they're bigger ones, but these are really rot resistant. It's pretty much the most rot resistant tree that we have native. I could use that. Now, the one this size, if I split that in half, I could use half of each side as an anchor post. Now, if I were to do that, of course, I'd just say 2 feet, leaving 6 inches out of the ground. and that will be the anchor for putting up post, because the raspberry patch or anything that I need a fairly tall post beside, I need to put down an anchor so that I can bolt or strap the post onto it tightly and it not move, and that's been my challenge. But yes, they're not all that plentiful, so if you're to cut down a Tamarack larch, then you use that as something precious and make every bit count, right? So that, I think, is all. There is still hoping for serviceberry harvest, but we just have to wait and see. Maybe I'll walk along here now and put on my little guitar music, and you can listen to the birds and with the guitar music in the background. So there we go. We're back to the house. Hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, there's more to come. We'll track along this journey into ecocentric living on the island of Newfoundland in Canada. So subscribe if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next video.